Well, I occasionally stopped instead of make pause. I stopped the video, but I had a chance to check everything worked well, and sound is quite appropriate. Once again, people, on the left we have assembly jig and mounting standard, which was used to mount this assembly jig. On the right, the yellow one, what do we have? Seems like it's assembly jig. It's not assembly jig. We see surface standard and we see counter standard to this surface standard, which actually very similar to assembly jig. Actually, it's the same assembly jig by design. Besides, of course, of this place is absent, but it's supposed to be here also later. And the difference between the left one and right one in accuracy. Usually I use such example. Do you imagine that is your yellow one, surface standard. It's your grandfather. What do we have as this counter standard? It's grandfather. What we have as red one, it's father, and the last one is already a son. It means that they are all relatives, and each next one is a derivative from the previous. First is surface standard, yellow one, next counter standard, next mounting standard, and the final one is assembly jig. Everything this was done in order to copy with very high accuracy the surface standard onto assembly jig. You might say it's too much complicated. Yes, it's too much complicated if we mean the only assembly jig and if we mean only assembly jigs. What I'm talking about, above the all, I hope you do remember, where we have junctions, it means that we are joining something else here. For instance, to the wing, we are joining aileron, we are joining flaps, and maybe they assembled in another assembly jig. These so-called married jigs, supposed to be mated aggregates, supposed to be married jigs, as it's called in English, they must be coordinated. It's also quite real English terminology. They must be coordinated by the places of these junctions. They must give the same results corresponding to each other. Flap should be attachable, assemblable to the wing, and after assembling they must have all the functionality. Next, besides of the need in marrying of assembly jig, marrying is let's say common language, and we need to use technical language, coordination. So besides of needing coordination of some jigs for the same aggregate, we also have idea and we have a need about coordination of tooling for manufacturing the parts and tooling for assembling. Tooling for manufacturing the parts here immediately we can't see, but we may imagine. For instance, we need bending punches for outer skin, or we need punches or form blocks for inner elements like ribs. And contours of all these tooling, they must give results which are assemblable with very high accuracy. They are coordinated, must be. And next, after everything, each element of the structure is produced, they must give results coordinated to locators of assembly jig. Yes, it's final accuracy, it's assembly jig which determine final accuracy, yes. But if all the previous tooling was systematically wrong, and in serial manufacturing it gives you systematically wrong results, you are spending too much money, time, labor forces in order to fix the problem that has appeared because you did wrong parts. Do forgive me. Now, what is laboratory work procedure? Actually, in laboratory work technological process, you're supposed to write only the mounting of assembly jig. We usually explain you since beginning how to produce everything, but next it's resulted in your mistakes that you, instead of the little portion that you're supposed to finish in your technological process in the lab, you start from the grandfather. In order to prevent your mistake, let's imagine that we already have the mounting standard completely finished. How exactly it will be finished, we are not talking right now. And this finished mounting standard is placed in a shop near Assembly Jig. Assembly Jig now consists of this blue frame, and blue frame has completely empty, they are called barrels. Now to pay attention, for instance, here, you see empty metal pipe. This empty metal pipe has special holes, what they are for. And this empty metal pipe may be inserted with another elements which in a jig now should be placed correctly, but we don't know where they are. Pay attention, quite the same things you see here, but because the jig was already assembled, you see that they are filled with something. Pay attention, it's visible, people. It's visible that here we have so-called fork, we have this barrel, and between fork and barrel we have something else. This something else is a cement. Wait a second. I hope everything goes okay. And now you see the real one, these real forks that you just have seen in such position, but you see that they are not inserted anywhere. Their tails empty, no, because it was already in use. You see, no? Tail from this side, it's spoiled, stuffed, do call it as you wish, with cement. Next, it was a little bit painted in real jig. These are real. You see that they are much bigger than the toyish ones that you had in a jig. No, visible, I hope. No? And do imagine the real jig locator. It will be placed somewhere here. And